Hey,
Carlos, I think we're on.
all right, all right.
Yeah, we have just a little bit of a delay,
Okay, no worries.
so we probably don't want to look at the screen. So this is Andie Katz with Katz's Key to Pocono Living. I thank you for everyone that is hopping on. I appreciate it. I'm hoping to bring you some great content and do these live webinars at least one time a month with various businesses, industries, people from different industries that I know, that I trust, know, like, and love, right? That's who you want to do business with. So today our first one is going to be credit repair. So this is going to be credit repair 101. And Carlos Villa, a good friend of mine, is going to discuss his industry and what it is that he does. And Carlos, I have some questions for you, but I want
Awesome.
you to first, let's start off with telling us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Good evening. Hey, Andy, just first of all, thank you for having me on. I love educating people. One of the things one of my mentors taught me is, instead of trying to sell a product, right, it's better to educate, right? I'm sure you in your industry with real estate, I'm sure you also educate your clients. You're just not looking to make a sale. Am I right?
That's right.
Right. So, a little bit about myself. I've been in the finance industry going on about 10 years altogether, with finance, credit repair, etc. And like I mentioned, I take a very educative approach when I'm engaging with a potential client, right? Not only do I want them to feel comfortable, I want them to, have enough information so they can make informed decisions. um, on top of that, I'm a father of five girls, right? Family man, lead a pretty busy life, but again, it's all about finding some type of balance.
That's right. So, and then you work with Imperial Consulting Group. Can you tell us a little
Yes.
bit about the company?
Yeah, sure. So it is a consulting group on the credit repair side, right? Basically, what I do, Andy, is I help clients improve and repair their credit, whether it's to purchase a home, refinance their mortgage, refinance their vehicle, plan to prepare for some type of purchase, whatever the case may be. If we think about our credit scores are tied to a lot of things, right? Um, Getting employment in some places, right? They'll do a background check on your credit report, you know,
Rent?
um, renting an apartment, buying a home, taking out a loan, right? Credit cards, all these things are tied with our credit score. And I really took an interest to credit scores back in about 2018, right? I remember I was going, I forget, I was in the mall and I wanted to get a credit card, right? For, I forget what store I was in because they were offering me like, 25% off my purchase if I got their credit card. And I was denied. And I was like, you know, let me see what's up with my credit score. And I was looking, it wasn't that I had poor credit, Andy. I just had a very short history, right? So that's where I started really learning. Okay, what are some of the things that banks, mortgage companies, etc. What are they looking at, right? So I really started studying, credit, and I really wanted to work on my own, right? So I remember taking my credit score. I was in the mid 500s to over 740, right? Just following the concepts that I learned. So,
Wow.
once I did that, I started helping a few of my clients on the side, right? I remember when I started off, this was probably around right around the pandemic, when I really started studying it a little bit more. I remember I would take on no more than like five clients at a time because it was a lot, right? In the beginning, I was very primitive, right? I didn't have the software or the resources to really scale it. And I remember like helping clients, improve by 100+ points in like 45 days. I'm like, wow, if I'm able to scale this, right, I could turn it into a business. And that's exactly what I did, right? I started looking for different software, different tools. And here we are, right? I have a couple of hundred clients I'm working with in a lot of different states, tri-state, Florida, Texas, Ohio, Rhode Island. I mean, I probably have clients in easily over close to 20 states, maybe.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that before we get started with the questions that I have for you, if anybody has any questions, they can type it into the Facebook page, and I'll try and multitask and see if I can get a hold of these questions for you. But in the meanwhile, I'll start off. So one of the questions, I was talking with a few people and I was asking them, what would I ask him, right? What would be your concern? So one is, what do you find are the most common mistakes that people make with their credit?
There's a few, but I think the most common that is the most easily avoidable is late payments, right? I think a majority of people can never have a late payment again by just setting up the auto pay. I've had clients who I'm working on, and they miss a payment, right? Like I'll delete a few collections, I'll delete some late payments or hard inquiries, and then they missed a payment. So instead of it going up, 50 to 80 points as an example, it'll go up like 5, right? So ladies and gentlemen, please, if you can, set up the auto payments, or if you can't because you get paid on different times, put calendar reminders. I mean, we have these tools in place that can help us avoid late payments. Please do. I'll tell you what, late payments or payment history account for 35% of your total credit score. That's 100 points. It's a lot. As a matter of fact, that's the biggest factor when it comes to credit score, right? Wow. They look at that payment history. So yeah, auto pay, or set up a reminder a few days before in your calendar. Set up 2 days before and one day before, whatever it takes.
Yeah. I know when I was really working on before I bought my house and I was really working on my credit, I had a lot of credit cards and I was just trying to get a hold of everything. And so I've gotten better. I've cut up cards. I kept the credit, but I cut the cards up. I don't use them. But I have a spreadsheet because I had like craziness going on.
Yeah.
So, it was a lot to remember. And, I was trying to, another question that I was, thing that I wanted to bring up was helping people to understand like the posting date of their credit card, right? So it's the date that.
So it's the due date and the post or the statement date.
Right.
Right. So there is a difference there. Like I'll have for example, I had a client call me today. And I told him, hey, we really need to get this credit card balance down. He's like, yeah, I paid it a week ago. And I asked him, well, what's the due date? I think the due date was like the 25th. And the statement date isn't until the 3rd. So what that means that it's not going to report to the credit bureau till June 3rd. So I told him, hey, just hang tight. It'll report in another few days, right? And then we're going to see that boost that you need in order to, I think he wants to do like a refi on his mortgage or take out a HELOC. I forget what it is. So it's good to know the difference between the two, the due date and the statement date. Right. Two, that's key.
Mm-hmm. And I know even though, Credit Karma and those other free ones, they're not like always accurate with the score, but it gives you some idea, right? So even if it does. Working with you, because I know that's where I had gotten like the dates of my posting and stuff like that. The statement date, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go back to my question. I lost my questions. Okay.
All good, but yeah, Credit Karma is all right. I'm not going to downplay Credit Karma. They do share some information. Obviously, you're not going to get the full report. That's why it's free. Also, it's free for a reason. They sell your information, right? That's why when you open up an account with Credit Karma, you're gonna start getting bombarded in the mail, email, phone, text, right? Because why do you think it's free? Because they make money, right?
Yeah.
They sell your information. Again, it's not terrible, right? But I'd rather them not. I get enough marketing calls, right?
Right. So I had another question. Can people get school loans removed from their credit report?
Yes, so I have been successful at removing
Sorry.
student loans. Now, so basically how it works is like this, right? I'm looking for inaccuracies. So according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, the information has to match across all three credit bureaus, right? I have been successful at removing some student loans due to inaccurate information. However, it doesn't always come off, right? If the information is accurate, hey, it's accurate, right? One thing I can do to help, however, is remove the late payments associated with the student loans, right? That's a little bit easier for me to do. But, depending if it's a federal or a state or a private loan, right? They all have different rules. Usually the federal ones are a little bit more difficult. But again, I have been able to take off a few only due to inaccuracies, right? It's human error, right? People that work at the bureaus and the Fannie Mae and all these other they're humans, right? They make a mistake, right? So if I'm able to catch that, if you're fortunate enough to have some inaccurate information on your reports, then those are grounds for deletion or removal.
Right. I've heard that it's important too to request your free annual report and
Yeah.
to thoroughly review it, because you just, even though it might have, so like for example, mine had like my name, my maiden name, and then I had like it was my married name. It was like 4 different names all mixed.
Right.
So what I had heard or understood was that it should just be your name and just get rid of everything else,
Yeah.
because you just don't want anything else that's connected
Right.
to it, right? Because I know like it had my report had my mom's old address, where she
Yep.
lived, and I'm like, I've never even lived there. So
Right.
it's important, right, to just review it,
Very.
call each of the reporting
Yep.
agencies, right? And just have everything that doesn't belong on there deleted, right?
Right. Whether it's a misspelling of your name or a relative's name, or like you said, even old addresses, you wanna clean that all up, right? I remember at one point, um, I had some other Carlos Villa. He was like Carlos A Villa, like me, but we both had different middle names, and I believe we were both born in December,
Oh wow.
right? However, he lived in
On the
Atlantic
state.
City. Right. So, I had to remove it. I just recently looked at my credit report because I want to remove some hard inquiries. And I noticed an address from when I was in high school. I graduated high school over 20 years ago. So I probably had terrible credit back then. So, I'm getting that removed, right? I just want it to be one name, right? One address.
Mhm. We do have a question. Right before we take this question, though, somebody has a question on Facebook. You were talking about removing items.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard that sometimes it's not always good to dispute some things, or when you're doing stuff, because I know like a lender can see that you disputed an item. So even though you might dispute it, it'll bring down the score. But then if they do correct it or say that yes, they've verified, then
Mhm.
now it goes back on the report and it can bring the score down, right?
It
So is there
can.
a time
It
not
can.
to?
It can. I mean, it really depends. Like if you apply for an American Express, right, last month, I'm not gonna dispute it, right? However, the ones I dispute the most, I think one of the biggest issues when you go car shopping. I
Oh
had
yeah.
a client recently, he went car shopping, they ran his score 18 times.
Wow.
18, right? Now, from my understanding, is that they get a little kickback from that. They get like $30 per client or per person that they run their score. So imagine a car dealership, they want to run your score as many times as possible. Who knows? It's a nice little bonus. If they're doing 1,000 hard pulls every month, do the math.
Yeah.
Right? it's a lot of money, right? It's
Wow.
over 12 months. So yeah, you don't want to dispute something that is legit, right? But I think car dealerships are the biggest culprits when it comes to unauthorized hard inquiries, right? Or even, Credit Karma is known for this too. Oh, apply for this. You're pre-approved with no hard inquiry, and before you know it, boom, they just ran you like multiple times. So
Right.
yeah, but like legit hard inquiries, you don't want to remove because now little red flags will start popping up.
Right. So we did have a question from Mr. Terrence Waring,
All right.
AT. So he's asking if someone has bankruptcy close to 9 years on your report, is it any way to help remove it from credit report? So Terrence is asking for a friend, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Honestly, like I've removed bankruptcies even before 7 years, right?
Wow.
Again, but 9 years, absolutely. 9 years,
It should
100%.
have been off already, right? But
Yeah,
definitely.
it should have been off. So there's actual a letter I would send to the credit bureaus reporting that, hey, it's been over 7 years, take this thing off, right?
Right.
Not in those terms, but pretty much.
Awesome. Okay, so another question is, what do you recommend for someone with no credit or low credit to help raise up their score?
So no credit is probably easier than having bad credit. Okay, let me rephrase that. Not easier, faster, right? I mean, there's a bunch of different scenarios. One, you can start off with a secured card, right? Now, I would start off. They have companies like Chime. They have companies like what's this other one? Self. Um, what's that other company I've used with clients? Chime, Self. I mean, those are probably the two main go-tos, right? That they actually don't pull your credit, right? So you would, let's say, a $200 limit, you would deposit $200 into that card, right? You make your little purchases and you just pay it. Purchase, pay, purchase, pay. You start building a credit history,
Right.
right? Now, if you are married or if you're young and your parents have good credit, right? They could add you as an authorized user on their cards, right? That's also a quick way to give you a good positive credit history. Like I remember when I had terrible credit at one point, my wife had amazing credit. She had me as an authorized user on a card with a $10,000 limit, and that automatically brought me from the fives into the mid sixes. So that was kind of like my little boost. And then I started doing my own thing, and so eventually I got it over 740. But those are probably the two good starting points, right? Is the that card I was mentioning with Chime or Self, right? Which is a secured card that you're depositing money into, or a loved one, right? Hey, add me as an authorized user, right?
Right.
That I've helped a lot of clients who, where the husband and wife wanted to purchase the home because they both wanted to be on there. They both needed a 680 or above. The wife had a good credit, husband not so much. The wife had some good cards, long history, added the husband, gave him a 100-point boost, right? So those are probably the two main tips I would give for people in that situation. Now, if you have bad credit, right? Why do you have bad credit? Is there collections? Is there late payments? Is your credit utilization high, right? So it really depends, right? I mean, honestly, some people just need to pay down their cards in order to boost their credit, right? I get a lot of clients who
Talking
come
about
in,
utilization, right?
right? A
Yeah.
lot of clients come in and like, hey, I want to buy a house. I have 60,000 in the bank, but my credit is low. I pull their report and they're using 98% or more on their credit card utilization, right? Which is crazy. So I would definitely take a look at that. Those are two main factors: the utilization and the payment history, right? And then you have length of credit, right? There's other factors, but I would start with the credit utilization first. See where you stand.
So just, piggybacking off of that, I think that education is just so important. So in that same scenario with the being able to use someone else's credit. So I had put like all of my kids on my credit cards. Of course, they didn't have the card. They just,
Right.
they had access to the authorization. You know, you know what I mean.
The history, right?
The word. But anyway, so I put them on my cards. So my youngest, my 18-year-old, by the time he was 18 years old, he actually had a 724
Nice.
credit score. So,
Nice.
but which was beautiful. But now he's 18 years old. He has a 724 credit score. He went and got a car.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he did all of that, and I guess that was good. But it was a challenge to also kind of like, instruct him on how, and you have to start early, right? So, instructing him on the importance of this credit score, like it is so valuable.
Absolutely.
I speak to a lot of older people, right? Like my age, and we're like, oh my goodness, if I could just start fresh, if I could just be, just right, just starting off, I would just give whatever. So, I needed my son to kind of, recognize or understand, have that education, because he's
Good.
8, has this great credit score, and now it's just, it could be downhill from this point, and he's only 18. So, hopefully that won't be the case. I've tried to educate him as much as I can, but yeah, definitely. And I think also, it's starting from me, because, a lot of Latin families, Latin Black families, we haven't educated our families or our children enough, right? So I know
100%.
my dad, my mom, that wasn't important to them. They didn't teach me, those kind
Right.
of qualities.
Mine either.
So,
Mine either.
so I try, and you try to do better, right? So trying to educate these kids, that's why I know when I took care of my credit, it was important for me to help the kids, get them on my credit cards,
Mm-hmm.
so that it can help to boost their score and kind of give them a helping hand. But definitely that education, right?
Absolutely.
Another question, what is a realistic time frame that someone can see some change in their credit report after working with your service?
So it really depends. I mean, I like to say that a majority of my clients start seeing results within the first 30 days, right? However, right, there's some people who don't, right? Sometimes it might take a second round. I was watching this interview once. Someone in the credit repair industry has a podcast, and he interviewed someone who worked for one of the credit bureaus, and this guy literally said, hey, if I was having a bad day and I opened up the letter and it was, mumbo jumbo, or it was like more than a page, I would just tear it up and say, hey, it looks like somebody unauthorized is trying to help you fix your credit. Go visit our website, do it yourself for free. Right. So literally, like, they could be having a bad day, open your letter and rip it and throw it out and never work on it. Right. And that happens, right? It happens, especially with the explosion of the credit repair industry, right? Because we're living in a social media world, and there's a lot of information out there. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but what was it, in 2022, the credit bureaus hired, or the IRS, the credit bureaus, they all started hiring people like crazy, right? But back to the question, I've seen people get results as fast as 2 to 3 weeks. I've seen people, it's taken 45 to 60 days to see initial results. But my goal is for my clients to get results every 30 days. So depending on what they have, right? Like, if you have a 500 credit score, don't think I'm going to get you to 730 days. There's people literally out there.
Your debt.
Yeah, like, that drives me crazy. Like, yeah, I'm not a magician.
Realistic.
Right. Let's be real here.
So when you meet with them, Carlos, do you give them kind of like a plan of action, so that
yes,
you can give them the right
absolutely. Not only do I give them a plan of action, Andie, I also give them a time frame. Right. For example, I'll say, hey, as little as 4 months to get you to where you need to, or 6 to 8 months, right, depending. But I also give them a task, right? Like, hey, don't apply for any cards or loans or anything without consulting with me first. right? Don't miss any payments, right? And if you don't have to, stop using the credit cards, right? We're trying to get that utilization down. But what happens? People are people. They do what they do, and they miss a payment, or oh God, I have this client right now. He's in the process of purchasing a home, and he went to the mall and applied for like 3 retail stores. I'm like, bro, what are you doing?
Oh my goodness.
So he went from like a almost 680. Now he's back down to like 619, 620. And he's like, Carlos, help me, like remove these hard inquiries. I'm like, did you apply to Old Navy? Did you apply at Macy's? He's like, yeah. I'm like, bro, like, no.
Right.
So,
right.
you know.
Yeah. And on that note, it's actually important too, even after you help people repair their credit and they're in the middle, because they might think, oh, well, I've gotten the loan, I'm under contract. They will actually, the lender can actually pull the credit right at the end of the like almost at closing.
Yeah.
So they will do a verification, and and if some people will be like, oh, well, I'm closing next week. I have a closing date.
Right.
So
I'm going to Home Depot.
Shopping. I'm going to go I'm not clothes shopping, but furniture shopping.
All right. I'm going to go buy a lawnmower and a leaf blower and all.
Stay out of Lowe's and Home Depot. And
I've seen it.
You close.
I've seen it. I actually had this client of mine was ready to close, right? And they reran it the day before. His credit score had dropped dramatically because he got a new car, he went to Home Depot, like he started, and then had to push back the closing date. He's like, hey, I need help with this and that, right? So I helped him as much as I could, remove some hard inquiries from the dealership, right? But I think it took like an extra almost 2 months before he was able to close.
Wow. Carlos, we have another question. This is from Letitia. She's asking, how long would it take to get from 585 to 640?
Again, it could take as little as 30 to 45 days. It really depends on what is on there, right? One of the things I do offer to people that want to know, right? Because it's not like a one size fits all, right? It's not just like, hey, this is the math. No, it's a little bit more, detailed than that. What I'm offering for people is a $1 consultation, right? Consultation will cost you $1, right? I could tell you basically based off of what's on your credit report, how long it'll take. If you want to move forward with my services, we'll work out some type of payment plan, or I can just say, hey, you know what, Leticia, do XYZ, and you should see some results in the next, X amount of time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it really depends on what's on there.
Right.
Because if it's just you have to pay down your cards, your debt to boost it, then I'll tell you. Or hey, you know what? There's some late payments here. There's a collection I can remove. You have excess, hard inquiries. I can help you out, and it'll take X amount of time. So it really depends on what's on the credit reports. Credit report.
So yeah, like you said, one size doesn't fit all.
Right.
So I can tell, like how passionate you are with, wanting to educate people, and that's what we do, right, Carlos?
Right, absolutely.
So I wanted to ask you though, like on talking about you, what inspired you to want to get involved in this kind of, business and be able to help people?
I mean, for me, I think you touched on it a few minutes ago. Just like the lack of knowledge and understanding in the Latino community, right? Like my mom never talked to me about credit. She never talked to me about investing money. She never talked to me about, financial literacy at all, right? Her thing was go to school, get a job, and work, right? No, that's not what I want, Mom. I love you, right? But I don't want to work 50, 60 years and retire and enjoy 5 to 10. Right. I want to take advantage of the knowledge that's out there. Because if we think about it, what were we really taught about money, finance, credit at home? Right. And on top of that, our communities are being taken advantage of. right? I feel like God gave me a heart to be a teacher, right? To teach people, not an actual teacher in a classroom, but a teacher, right? You don't have to be in a classroom to teach, even though I have taught classes for different groups in the community. You know, just people being taken advantage of when it comes to financial literacy, right? I had some lady come to me one time because she was working with a credit repair company and she had paid them $5,000. And in almost 2 years, she saw zero movement, right? I think I ended up charging her like 1,800, and in 3 months, you know, I boosted her where she needed to be able to buy that home, right? So it took this company, you know, almost 2 years, and $5,000 later, they didn't do anything. And, you know, I came in, and in a few months, I was able to help her for, you know, a fraction of that, right? Which is crazy. You know, I really feel bad for people that get taken advantage of. It's
Yeah.
terrible. There's a lot of there's a lot of scammers out here. You know, and I just want, you know, I just want to educate as many people as possible so the next generation can be better than us.
That's awesome, Carlos. On that note, I wanted to ask you, so after you've helped somebody,
Mhm.
repair their credit, do you usually recommend to them that they get like identity theft or anything? Because I know that that's something else that you could probably help them with, right?
Absolutely. You know, not only identity theft, but you know, other financial products and services, right? I might tell them, hey, you know, what I like to include with the credit analysis is a financial analysis, right? I want to see, well, hey, you know, part of this program that I'm helping you is I also want to help you on the financial side, not just on the credit side, right? So I'll help them put together a budget, right? I'll help them uh, put together a you know, a spreadsheet of their expenses, right? Whether it's the rent, the mortgage, the credit card payments, the car payments, the cable, everything, right? I want to see if they have a surplus or a shortfall at the end of every month, and I want to help them to have their money work for them, right?
Mm.
In whatever capacity that might be for them, right? Because it's, you know, I want to help them avoid coming back to me, right?
Wow.
You know, I want to help them, whether it's, you know, putting their, you know, saving some money for college or saving some money for retirement, whatever the case may be, right? I'll help them put together some type of plan, which is included in what I do, right? I don't charge them extra for doing any of that, right? I really just want to see people win.
Right. Now, I know that you're also like an entrepreneur. I'm just
Mhm,
wondering, are there, if people had interest in doing what you're doing,
mhm.
do you hire people, or are they able to, do
I
what
do.
you do?
I do have a few people that I quote unquote hire, right?
Mhm.
Because obviously, you know, I do have a lot of clientele, and I could always use the help. So if someone's looking for an opportunity to learn about credit repair, learn about, you know, financial services, then yeah, absolutely. It's something that I do offer. I'm actually going to be interviewing someone for an internship, right? She's interested. She's going to school for finance,
Nice.
and you know, she's interested in an internship. It is a paid internship, right? So yeah, absolutely. I love to teach.
That's awesome. Carlos, I really appreciate your time, and and I want you to share with us, all of your contact information. I'm also going to put it in our Facebook post over here. But if you just want to let us know like what your Instagram handle is and
Yep.
contact information.
So I have two Instagrams, right? My one Instagram is more of like my personal slash business. It's on Instagram. It's Carlos underscore financial underscore coach. Carlos financial coach. And then the one that's strictly for my business is Imperial Credit underscore group, right? You won't see any pictures of my beautiful kids on there, right? You won't see any food pictures or the funny stuff, right? It's strictly credit repair. So you can find me on there. Um, I am actually going to hire my daughter to help me create a TikTok because I hear TikTok is the new thing, right? I go on there and I I don't know, I'm like lost, right? So I will have a TikTok soon. I also have it's so many things out there. I also do have a Facebook. That Facebook is, I'll tell you in a second. That Facebook is Carlos the Financial Coach. I do have a Facebook page that I recently started, kind of rebuilding because, Facebook is not a good platform.
Yeah. Do you prefer that people reach out to you, like DM you with any questions or?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say Instagram is probably the social media platform I use most. Okay. So you could DM me either on Imperial Credit Group or Carlos Financial Coach, either one. I do check it, pretty much daily.
Okay. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to share with us, or I think we kind of covered some things.
No, you did cover a lot. We did discuss a lot. One thing I will say, because I've noticed this, especially in our communities, right? Don't feel ashamed if you have bad credit. Don't feel ashamed if you have a lot of collections and late payments, right? I tell people all the time, right? If you were sick, you're not going to be shameful to go to the doctor, right? You're not going to be scared to go to the doctor, right? And I'm like a financial doctor, right? If you have all these issues going on, right, allow me to help you, right? Invest in yourself, right? Hey, it's practically a free consultation. It'll cost you $1. That $1 is going to cover the credit report with all 3 credit bureaus, and then it's no obligation. Right. If you feel like I can help you, then, we'll get started. If you feel like maybe you could do it on your own, I'll tell you what to do. Right. I'm not here to, take your money. Right. I'm here to help you improve the quality of your financial life.
Thank you so much, Carlos. It was
You're welcome.
Amazing speaking with you. We will talk again.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate everybody that tuned in. And if you guys have any other questions that we didn't cover, feel free to text them, or rather, put them on the Facebook post, and I'll make sure that they get over to Carlos and he can answer them. And also we'll be putting his contact information just in case you missed it. And this way you can DM him directly, and maybe he can be able to help you.
Yep. And you can DM me through Facebook as well.
Okay. All righty. Thank you so much, Carlito.
You're welcome.
Please,
thank you for having me.
Say hi to your wife and give everyone my love.
Thank you. Take care.
Right.
We'll talk soon.
Okay.
All right.
Talk to you later. Bye.